This kid is an absolute monster killing machine. In 1904, the firemen came to a place called the Manhattan Adventurers Society because there was a lot of smoke coming out of a room. But when they got there, the smoke disappeared back inside. One of the men tried to touch the door, but his hand started freezing, so his friends had to pull him away. They broke down the door and found lots of frozen bodies and ice everywhere. There was also a strange orb with evil inside it. When they tried to grab it, the orb opened and made all the bodies break apart. Now, in the present day, a lady named Callie, her boyfriend Gary, and their kids Phoebe and Trevor moved to New York to be Ghostbusters. Callie's dad used to be one too. They were chasing a scary ghost around the city, shooting at it with their proton blaster. But Phoebe missed a lot and ended up damaging buildings. They tried using a trap, but it didn't work, so they used a drone trap instead. Callie flew the drone to catch the ghost, and they did it. The family was so happy, but Gary got distracted and crashed their car into some bikes. People recorded everything on their phones, and it ended up on the news. The mayor wasn't happy and scolded them for causing trouble, especially since Phoebe, who's still young, was with them. Back at their headquarters, Callie and Gary decided Phoebe should have a normal life and kicked her out of the team. Phoebe was upset, but no one listened to her. They put the ghost they caught in their special container, but it was harder than usual. Ray and Podcast had a show where they checked objects for ghosts, but one item didn't show anything, so Podcast broke it. Later, Phoebe found cute little marshmallow men in their shop, but Podcast didn't like them and smashed one. Suddenly, Nadim walked into the shop, and just the sight of his box scared all the little marshmallow men, making them hide. Nadim brought some family stuff he wanted to sell, and Ray got curious about an orb in the box. He used a special device to check it, but the orb's energy broke the device and caused a little earthquake. Outside, a strange freezing energy moved through the street and hit the wall with the ghost container. Ray bought the orb quickly, and Nadim left in a hurry. At Ghostbusters headquarters, Gary found damage on the wall and called Janine, the old team secretary, for help. Upstairs, Trevor found green slime leaking through the roof and went to the attic. He found some moving food packages and was shocked to find Slimer hiding underneath. Later, the team got a ghost alert and left for a mission, but they didn't take Phoebe. She went to the park alone to play chess, but the pieces started moving by themselves. A ghost named Melody appeared, looking like flames because she died in a fire. They played chess, and Melody said she couldn't move on because she had unfinished business. The next day, Lars, a scientist, came to check the damaged wall. They realized the ghosts were trying to get out of the containment unit. Winston, an old Ghostbuster, brought the original plans for the unit made by Callie's late dad. They figured out that the unit was getting full after 40 years of storing ghost stuff. Winston also said the earthquake blast made a rift that could be a door to the other side. Since the building wouldn't last, Winston took them to a secret lab with a bunch of scientists studying ghosts. Trevor found his friend Lucky working there. Ray sent items with ghost energy to the lab, where Lars separated the ghosts from the objects. They made a bigger ghost container following the old plans. They had to start moving ghosts from headquarters with traps. Some ghosts were kept in special cells for study. Phoebe got scared by a skull, and Gary and Callie freaked out when a ghost threw up on the glass. There was also a ghost that liked jumping from gadget to gadget. Later, the team went on a mission without Phoebe. Then, a second emergency call came in, so Phoebe and Podcast went without telling the adults. They went to a restaurant and found out the ghost was Melody. Phoebe got scared to shoot, and Melody escaped before Phoebe could react, breaking the windows. In the lab, Lars and Lucky were tinkering with Ray's stuff. When they got to the orb, the ghosts in the cells got restless. The machine didn't work right, causing a power surge. Some cell windows broke and the ghost tried to escape, but Lars fixed it quickly. He tried to grab the orb, but it froze his hand. He dropped it just in time to save his arm. Later, Melody visited Phoebe, but almost touched the containment unit. Phoebe showed her around, and Melody kept playing with matches, which anchored her to this world. They caused the fire that killed her family. The next day, Trevor set a trap in the attic for Slimer. Another earthquake hit, and the team found a huge hole in the containment unit with frost everywhere. Back at the lab, they discovered the orb was freezing things too. Lars showed it to the Marshmallow Men, who went wild for it. It seemed the orb could control ghosts and freeze stuff. They went to see Nadim, who had a room full of antiques made of brass. Lars realized brass could trap ghosts. They tested Nadim with the oroscope, and it reacted strongly. They brought him to the lab and hooked him up to a machine. Former Ghostbuster Peter asked him weird questions. Suddenly, Peter threw a pen at Nadim, making him angry. Nadim's anger made a nearby flame grow bigger. As they argued, Peter threw more pens, and Nadim's anger fueled the flame, showing he could control fire. Meanwhile, Podcast reviewed a video he took at the lab and found an ancient language coming from the orb. He, Phoebe, and Ray decided to seek an expert. They rode Ray's old bike to the New York Public Library and talked to a scientist. The scientist translated the words from the video and showed them a carving on an old book. Centuries ago, a king asked Garaka, a powerful entity, for help, but Garaka had his own plans for a new ice age. Nadim's ancestors, the Fire Masters, trapped Garaka in the orb and stole his horns. If Garaka got free, New York would face a death chill, killing people with fear. The scientist also shared old recordings, including one from the Manhattan Adventurers Society. That group really liked stealing old stuff. Ages ago, they tried opening the orb, but it ended up killing them all. When the team listened to the recording, they heard the same words as in the video. Suddenly, the cylinder started shaking and leaped out of the machine into a trash bag, making a ruckus around the library. As Ray walked among the shelves, he got blocked by the same ghost from the 80s. They followed it outside and saw it on a lion statue. Ray tried to grab it, but then the lion statue started moving because the ghost left the bag to possess it. People panicked, and Phoebe shot the lion with her proton blaster, blowing it up. Later, Peck said he's shutting down the Ghostbusters like he wanted for a long time. Phoebe tried to argue, but Peck said it's either that or going to prison. Back at headquarters, they found all their gear taken by the police. While Phoebe argued with her parents, Ray showed Nadim the damage in the containment room and said he's the next Firemaster, needing to train to save the world. They practiced moving a flame from a lighter to a candle, but Nadim wasn't quite there yet. Meanwhile, Phoebe met Melody in the park again. They chatted and got close. Phoebe admitted she wouldn't mind being a ghost, which gave her an idea. They head to the lab and Phoebe steps into the machine. Melody activates it, separating Phoebe's soul from her body temporarily. It works, but Melody looks sorry and upset. She reveals she works for Garaka, who can only control ghosts, not living folks. Now he can manipulate Phoebe's ghost to say the words to open the orb. Since her ghost is still linked to her body, it says the words too, and the orb starts to crack open. Melody explains she had to do this to reunite with her family. The orb splits apart and darkness fills the room. Garaka shows up, declaring he'll destroy the world. Phoebe's ghost is forced back into her body. Lucky arrives and tries to blast Garaka, but he freezes and breaks the proton stream before vanishing. The team rushes to free Phoebe. Meanwhile, Garaka freezes a clerk to death at Nadim's shop, then heads to Nadim's apartment to get his horns. Once he puts them on, he gains his full power and true form. A dark cloud forms over the city, freezing everything, destroying property, and killing people. Both teams meet at headquarters to plan. Nadim demonstrates his training, but he's still a beginner. Luckily, Lars has extra gear in his van. They prepare to fight, but Lucky warns that their weapons might not be enough after what happened in the lab. Phoebe recalls that brass can trap ghosts like the orb was made of, so she melts some brass to strengthen her blaster. On the roof, Trevor and Lucky spot a tricycle rolling down the street on its own. They rush inside, fearing it's the escaped possessor ghost from the lab. As the storm worsens, the tricycle slams into the door, blowing it off its hinges. A red light, the possessor, hits the Ghostbusters sign, causing it to fall before entering and possessing the car. The car jerks backward, narrowly missing everyone. Lars investigates a noise in another room, but encounters one of the lab's little ghosts who shoots goo at him. The red light exits the car, possessing a paper plane, then jumps into Lucky's proton pack. It aims at Trevor, but Gary shoves him aside and Nadim redirects the blast out the window. Podcast smashes the pack, releasing the ghost, which then possesses a pizza, only to be eaten by Slimer. Meanwhile, ice begins covering the headquarters. Phoebe finds Melody in the unit room. Melody insists she never meant harm and just wanted to see her family. Phoebe, angry, tells her she must find the strength to move on herself. Garaka arrives, blocking the door with ice spikes. The building shakes as the Ghostbusters fire their proton blasters, but Garaka freezes the streams instantly. Nadim, now wearing the Firemaster armor, tries to summon a flame with a lighter, but it's empty from training. Garaka destroys the lighter and shoots a blast, creating a chasm in the floor, trapping everyone with more ice spikes. Then Garaka chants a spell to free all the ghosts from the unit, causing a massive blast of energy to shoot into the sky. Ghosts flood out and start causing chaos in the city, but Phoebe can't spot Melody anymore. She dashes upstairs and blasts Garaka with her reinforced blaster. Unable to freeze this powerful energy, Garaka retaliates by freezing Phoebe instantly, attempting to extract her soul. But just as he does, Melody reappears and ignites her last match. Nadim seizes the chance to conjure a fireball, which he hurls at Garaka. The intense heat melts the ice, freeing everyone. Phoebe shoots her blaster again, struggling to control its immense power. Her family lends support, helping her steady her aim. With a combined effort, their reinforced blast and Nadim's fireball overwhelm Garaka. Podcast rushes to release the drone trap from the car, but the mischievous Marshmallow Men, having escaped the lab, interfere, causing him to lose control. Garaka seizes the opportunity to knock down the trap. Realizing the containment unit is now empty since Garaka freed all the ghosts, the older Ghostbusters race to the basement to activate it. With everyone's teamwork, they manage to trap Garaka inside, the light turning green as a sign of success. Afterward, Melody hands Phoebe her matchbox, bidding her farewell before moving on. The team emerges to find the ice melted. Peck attempts to scold them again, but the locals rally in support, leaving Peck no choice but to go along, allowing the Ghostbusters to continue operating, at least for now. With all the ghosts Garaka released now loose in the city, the team springs back into action to clean up the mess. On their way out, Phoebe addresses Gary as Dad for the first time. Sometime later, when a truck driver stops at a gas station, the Marshmallow Men use the chance to steal away his vehicle. Make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you can watch more videos like this. Thanks for watching.